William, what's the mood in the camp like 24 hours out?
We're obviously pretty excited. It's been quite a while building up to this since it was announced. It's something that a lot of people are looking forward to, and the 11, 14 or 15 that are here are no different than that. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of different emotions that'll flow through everyone's mind over the next 24 hours, but excitement being probably the main one. Yes, it's obviously been a long journey, but in some ways been a pretty quick journey as well. Like throughout my career, we've gone from, that's over the last 10, 12 years, we've gone from not having ODI status to having ODI status to having everything else, and then obviously now, tomorrow, going out there and playing the first test match for Ireland. It has been a lot of banging the drum and things like that, but and it's going to be a pretty special occasion for the 11 that are lucky enough to take the park tomorrow. But we've mentioned it ourselves, we've mentioned it amongst the squad, and it'd be pretty remiss if we didn't talk about everything that's gone before us, not only over the last 5-10 years, which everyone will probably remember most, but every cricketer that's ever played for Ireland, on and off the pitch, administrators, there's been a lot of people that have devoted a lot of their lives to Irish cricket to make this day happen. So I think it just culminates in us being lucky enough to be the ones at time in our career to be able to take the pitch to play that first test match. But I think obviously the third day is the past players' day, and that's going to be a pretty special occasion. And I think everyone that's ever worn a jersey and done things, a lot of things behind the scenes and devoted their lives to it, deserve a lot of credit for what's going to happen tomorrow.
At a time when Test cricket's facing challenges across the globe from other formats and people are worried about the future, can you just sort of explain why it's so important for you to be playing in your first Test and why it means so much?
It's probably a combination of things. Obviously, every cricketer growing up wants to play Test cricket, so it's still, I think, as it is in the name, it's the ultimate test for cricketers, for individuals and for teams. But I think, obviously, last June, the decision in terms of becoming a full member, I think Test cricket obviously comes along with that, but I think the biggest thing is probably getting the full membership. Obviously, this week is all about Test cricket, but what that and the doors and hopefully the financial aspect opens up with being a full member allows us to completely grow the game within Ireland and make it more sustainable, allows us to get more fixtures. I think in the next couple of weeks the Future Tours programme will be announced, which will allow administrators in Ireland to plan not just for 6-12 months in advance, but 3 years down the line. They know what fixtures they're going to get and what funding they're going to get and things like that. So I think that's probably, without being boring, that's probably the biggest thing that it brings from Cricket Ireland's point of view, and Test cricket comes along with that, and we're fortunate enough to get that opportunity. But as you said, probably, like, let's be honest, T20 cricket probably has taken over, but I think deep down every cricketer wants to be able to play Test cricket, and as it is the ultimate test as such.
What about when you were growing up? Was there a specific Test match you were watching that inspired you to want to play?
I wouldn't say necessarily any specific occasion. Obviously, one of the biggest things, and I'm sure everyone in Ireland, England would be pretty similar to the Ashes whenever they were on, the coverage that got and everything else would be probably a lot of people's main cricketing memories from Test cricket. And then you obviously, going back a little bit further, you know, the West Indies team probably in the 80s was a little bit before my time, but you'd obviously hear a lot about that and see a lot about it. But the Australia dominance over probably the 90s and early 2000s would have been my main standout memories personally, and just seeing how hard they played and everything else would be main Test memories as such.
Think you're proud one for you tomorrow, William, as captain?
Yeah, it obviously will be. I think it will be for everyone that takes the pitch, but it'll probably be something we look back on more so potentially in a couple of years' time or whenever they end up finishing. I think that will be probably the most proudest moment, or one of them anyway. But yeah, I think once we take the pitch and get into the battle, I don't think we'll be thinking too much about that. But maybe in the next week when you look back on it, yeah, I think it will be a pretty proud moment for everyone involved.
You have a stint for Nathan Smith to be pulled out at the stage?
Oh, look, I've got it for the lad. I think anyone that's in the squad, he's probably gone from the best moment in his career to the worst moment in his career from the space of 48 hours. And for everyone that's missed out, I think there's a lot of lads that are disappointed, and even the lads that have come down that have missed out in the squad that have been around this week and helping prepare everyone, pulling the nets and different things like that, it shows the character and the attitude of all the players involved in Irish cricket, and I think that's something we can't lose.
What are you expecting from Pakistan? You know, it's early season, and your season. They haven't been in England that long.
Yeah, obviously it's a bit stereotypical, but if we get a bit of sideways movement, things like that is what is the main kind of aspect that we want to bring to the table. If we can have that throughout the game, then I think that gives us the best chance of winning the game, and I think that's a realistic chance of winning it if that's to be the case. And obviously I think they're a pretty battle-hardened side. There's a few lads in the squad that are potentially making their debut, so there'll be a bit of nerves knocking around with them as much as they would have played a lot of first-class domestic cricket. But yeah, I think that any time, it's hopefully not going to be too warm. It's probably going to be like at best in double figures. So all those little factors only add to giving ourselves a better chance of winning this game. And I think sideways movement's going to be the biggest thing for ourselves. But there's a lot of experience down that Pakistan side. But yeah, we'll be looking to exploit that if we can.
I mean, you faced Mohammed Amir. What's he like to bat against?
He's obviously a very skillful bowler. A couple of lads have played against him in county cricket and multi-day games. I've only played against him in white ball cricket. But yeah, he gets late swing. He gives it a chance, especially with a new ball. And he can also then later on in the game can be pretty aggressive as well. But obviously, his late swing is going to be a main factor for him. And I mentioned sideways movement. They've got a pretty handy seam attack, so it's something we're going to have to combat with the bat as well.
It sounds like you're probably only going to get a few tests a year over the next few years. I mean, are you happy with that, or would you like the chance to show the world what you could do over more matches?
This is touched on before, a combination of factors. I think it's going to be very hard to organise 3-5 game series and things like that. The cost that's involved in organising them. Yeah, it would be great if we could play quite a few tests a year, but I think it's not really financially viable as it stands. So that is what it is. I think the biggest thing for ourselves, we've got to make the first class structure here. We had a very good game last week. We got to make that sustainable and better, and get a volume of fixtures into that system, and also the Wolves programme, which is effectively our A team. The Wolves programme is going to be key over the next 12, 18 months, 2 years in terms of having home and away series. I think that's the biggest thing for ourselves, is just keep increasing that player pool and giving them more experience, and I think then it becomes easier for those lads to transition into the first team, as opposed to not having that volume of cricket.
No team has won their first test for 140 years. Do you really think we have a chance?
We've always got a chance. It's sport. It's two teams going out there against each other. Yeah, are we favourites? No, they are, but we've got as much chance as anyone. We go out there, we do the basics right in our own conditions, then we give ourselves a very good chance. There's a lot of experience throughout our lineup. There's a bit of exciting youth there as well. So I don't see any reason why not. Yeah, the odds are probably against us, but if we go out there and, as I said, do simple things well, then we'll give ourselves a very good chance.
William, I think you've only played one 5-day game in your career. Is it a different challenge as a captain to captain the side in multi-day cricket?
Yeah, it obviously brings its different challenges as opposed to just a one-day game. I think obviously we haven't played. I think the one was in South Africa. We played the 5-day game, but maybe one in Dubai. But it just adds that extra day and it just prolongs everything. So you wouldn't think about necessarily declaring earlier and little things like that. But again, if you look too far down the line and start thinking about day 3, 4 and 5 and you ignore 11 o'clock tomorrow morning or that first hour, first half an hour, first session, then you're getting a bit ahead of yourself. So I think that will come to fruition throughout the 5 days, because it's just an extra 3 sessions on top of the game. But I think we've played enough 4-day cricket to know what to expect and how we can take that forward.
What kind of attack are you expecting, William? Pace or spin?
From Pakistan?
Yeah.
I would imagine it'll be a combination. I think a lot of the spinners bat as well, so I think that the leg will play the left arm spinner, and I think they'll have a pretty balanced seam attack as well. It's where the all rounder plays, and I think they'll have at least 4 seamers playing along with the leg and the left arm spinners. I could be wrong, but I can't imagine it being too far away from that, just with the lads being able to bat as well.
Could you play the spinner?
It'll all depend on how we feel that's going to play it. If it is what we want, then it's potentially erring towards not, but it's always an option there for us, and they've got a few lefties on their side as well.
Did you prepare yourself for against Shadab, because he just took 10 wickets, first time ever after 91 years? So, have you any plan for him, Shadab?
Yeah, it's like any boy. Obviously, he had a pretty good game last week against Northants. but he's obviously a very good bowler, and he's burst onto the scene, and that's great. Any time that someone does that, it's great excitement around world cricket. You want people coming on. That's got something a bit special. He's obviously had a good start to his career, but it's like anyone now. Should it be his first game or his 100th game? There's a lot of, you're doing well for someone to come in that's unknown as such. You haven't got footage there of him. It's another thing then dealing with it, but. Obviously, one of our spinners, just talk about Rashid Khan, will be knocking around. We've played a lot of cricket against Afghanistan over the last couple of years, not comparing the two bowlers, but for very good leg spinners, we've come up against that a lot in the last couple of years. So we're going to get that again come this week, because I fully expect him to be in the 11.
You were talking there about the past players. Have you had anyone in to talk to the team this week? Or is it something you're already very aware of?
Oh, we're very aware of it. There's been no one in actually talking to the team as such. Obviously, in terms of immediate past players, Trent Johnson's been around this last week. He's been down at training. He's doing a bit of commentary. Like Whitey, for example, selector, different things like that, and what it would have meant to them as well. But hopefully, we get a chance at the end of day 3 to mingle with whoever's made the journey or who is going to be here. That'll be pretty nice. But I think it'd be wrong if we didn't acknowledge what they've done in getting us to this position, because as I said, it's not just the last 5 or 10 years, which there's been a lot more publicity around that, but a lot of people have devoted a lot of their lives to Irish cricket, and it's the last few years become more of a professional setup and a lot more people full time. But you got to remember those lads went full time. They had 9 to 5s around that, and still managed to dedicate as much time to Cricket Ireland as what they could have. So I think, we got to recognise that.
William, sorry. At the moment you're about to play Test cricket, they've decided to come up with a brand new format in England, 100 balls. And do you have any thoughts about that? Or?
I can't say it's something to put too much thought into. But again, as I mentioned earlier, T20 cricket's over the last few years has really taken off, and if that's one way of getting more people involved in the game, then that's great. They've identified target audiences for that and how they're going to get more people through the gates. But I don't really have a lot of thoughts on the 100 ball competition as such.
Just William, just on that point of former players, I understand that Paul Stirling and a couple of the lads spoke to Marcus Dreskothic during the warm-up game against Somerset. Were you in on that, and what advice did he give you? Yeah,
we said him. I asked him, I think it was after day 2, maybe if he'd mind at some point just sitting down with the lads. He's been playing, I think it was 26 years or something. He's been playing professional cricket. He had a great career, county cricket and Test cricket. I mean, it's just another opportunity. I think any chance you get like that to speak to someone of his experience was great. And look, it's nothing we necessarily wouldn't have heard before, but he talked about going out, like enjoying that experience. It's just generally what you experience when you come to play Test cricket, and it's just talked about that little bit of a higher standard from county cricket. It's just you've got that extra seamer, it's a bit more relentless, which is kind of what we expect. And he talked a bit about past experiences for him, and as much as he didn't look at it, he just always talked about him finding rhythm and what he was doing in that game. As much as he didn't look at it, touch, he felt he was. And it's nice to hear someone else talk about every cricketer goes through the same thoughts, but him talking about that, I think, gives a lot of reassurance to everyone and what they do and how they prepare and their own game being in order for tomorrow. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's nice to know what thoughts that he went through is the same things that everyone else goes through, and you still got to find your way of dealing with it and your way of performing. But it was a good little chat.